Imagine being squeezed into a crowded car, strangers' faces inches apart. It's usually the most perfect recipe for awkwardness, right? But what happened next was nothing but ordinary. In that moment of discomfort, I learned a powerful lesson about connection, embracing the unexpected, and most importantly, generosity. And that's what we are going to discuss in this episode. How life's awkward moments can actually teach us profound lessons. But before we dive deep into this episode, hi listener, welcome to another episode of A Walk with A.F.I. If you are new here, welcome on board, and if you are a returning listener, hey you, welcome back. Let's all do Sunday dates, and I remain your humble host, A.F.I. So sometimes we meet people who in just few minutes, few seconds, few moments, they leave long-lasting impression on us. I had this encounter with somebody in a public transport, and it reminded me a lot of unexpected kindness and how we find them in the most awkward places, right? So I was sitting next to this woman, and the conversation started from just random, hi, good afternoon, how are you, blah blah blah. And before we knew it, we entered how the hiking price for fuel is so annoying. And it's not even funny at all. She was complaining. I could sense frustration in her voice. She was talking about how one has to cut down your feeding expenses just to meet up with transport fare, and it's actually true. Even if I don't really go out, I'm feeling it. Anytime I'm going out like this, I'm like, God, what is happening? This money, I know what I can use this money and do, but I'm spending it on transport, just transport. Why? How come it's so hard like this? After all the complaints and everything, and I was even asking her how much is the transport where we're going and all, and we were talking, and 3 minutes later she decides to buy this boiled corn and offered me, she offered to buy for me. That was the most amazing part. And I was like, no, I'm okay. I'll be nice kid I am now. I was like, no, I'm fine. She was like, she can even hear. She was about to cut it the one she bought for herself. I said, God, this woman, this is so kind of her and so nice, because despite her earlier concerns, she was still ready to share from the little that she had. Because this was somebody that was actually complaining that you have to cut down on feeding so that you can meet up with transport here and everything. And this same person is offering to give me out of the little that she had. In my mind, I was like, what if this is the first thing food she's eating? What if this is the first thing that she's eating since morning, or she was actually very, very hungry and she decided to buy this corn? Because the way she said it when she wanted to buy the corn was like, she's hungry, or blah blah. And I even felt like paying. I brought her money to pay, and she was like, no, that if I want, she can add. I said, no, that I'm not. I don't want to eat corn. I was actually okay, but honestly, her generosity stood out for me. It made me think, how often do we overlook opportunities to be kind just because we are struggling with ourselves? Because she already had her struggles, right? And yet she was still being kind enough to look at me, to look at my own struggles. And honestly speaking, it really, really stood out for me, and I learned a lot of things from my encounter. I realized that despite the hardship, this woman's instinct was to give, to connect with strangers, even though it was through a small act of kindness. To me, that is huge. That is a lot. Despite the hardship, it reminded me that giving is not about the resources. It's more of a choice. Being kind, being generous, it's a choice. It's not about how much you have in your wallet. It's not about how much you have in your bank account. If you are kind, you are kind. If you are nice, you are nice. If you are generous, you are generous. If you are not generous, when you don't have the money, when you have the money, you still not be generous. It's when you see people and say, that man, he has money, but he's stingy. The truth of the matter is, it's not when they became rich that they started to exhibit that trait or habit or attitude. It's always been there. It was just because they didn't have, so it was not that obvious. Whatever you are, money, wealth will only amplify it. So it's more of a choice. Being generous is more of a choice, not really what you have in your pocket. So when we feel like we are lacking, we forget that there are also people that are also in that situation or even more invested in that situation than us. And the least we can actually do all the time is just to show little acts of kindness. It might not make sense, but generosity is not dependent on abundance. That is one thing that I want you to know. It is never dependent on abundance. You can have a lot and still not give. It is more of your mindset. It is more of you just choosing to be kind, you choosing to be nice, no matter the circumstance. Another thing that stood out for me is that there is a power of connection in challenging times, because it's funny that most of the times these little acts of kindness mostly break down the invisible walls between us. The journey could have been a boring one. She could have been so grumpy and everything, but the moment we started having that conversation, the tone and everything, it lifted the air between us, like the mood between us. It made me reflect on how we connected so easily just because of that. And from that, I realized that when we are going through hard times, or sometimes not about having deep conversations. I'm not saying having deep conversations are wrong. Sometimes that is what we need, right? Deep conversations. Sometimes we need to share our experience, but other times it can come from a fleeting moment of generosity, just something small. Can just be as little as a smile, can just be as little as a compliment. You don't have to see somebody down, start saying blah blah blah, I experienced this was no. Sometimes it's not about that. In challenging times, it's actually easy for us to isolate ourselves, because we feel like we don't just want to relate, we don't just want to be in anywhere, like in any space. We just want to be in our own space. We just want to focus solely on our personal struggles. But moments like this will always remind us that we are never alone. There are other people going through that same thing that you are going through. There are other people going through deeper stuff than what we are going through. So by opening up ourselves to others in the small ways that we can, it actually creates a moment of support and connection for us. Because having a conversation now, it actually boosted my mood, honestly, and I know that it did so happy. It was very lively and all. And like I said, I cannot just forget this encounter. I cannot just forget this encounter, because from this encounter, I actually realized also that kindness costs nothing, but it means everything. To me, the power that kindness holds is actually very high, and even though it might seem insignificant, but when you show kindness to people, to you it might look like it's nothing, but the recipient actually knows what it is and the effect that your kindness is having on them. So this woman didn't know me and I didn't know her, yet she was willing to share, and the willingness to share actually changed the tone of the entire journey to me. What could have been an uncomfortable journey drastically changed the moment we started to connect and warm up to ourselves and be kind to ourselves. So we often underestimate how much our little act of kindness can mean to somebody. It might be because we are too caught up in our own challenges. It might be as a result of whatever we are going through, like I said earlier. But we should not assume that whatever we are offering is not enough. Let's stop focusing on what we don't have. Let's stop focusing on our lack, but rather let's maximize that one that we have. Let's do that. Yes, this one that I have, let's use it. Let's use it to the maximum. Kindness doesn't need to be grand. It doesn't have to be top notch. It doesn't have to be red carpeted. Right? It's often the little things that actually matters and count. So let's make it a point to be kind. It might look little to you. It might not make any sense to you. But the point is, the recipients will always appreciate it. It might look like it's not making sense, like I said. But the point to me is that your simple smile, your compliment, or even sharing something as simple as food. I mean, no matter how little whatever you have, don't feel like your problem is too much than whatever ever that person is passing through that you cannot help. Because sometimes that is one of the reasons that draws back from being kind. You feel like, what if this person doesn't appreciate it? What if they don't see any good in this act of kindness? But the truth of the matter remains, even when they don't feel it, just do it. Like I said, it's always a choice. We always have the choice to be kind. We always have the choice to choose to be generous. Kindness costs nothing, but it means everything, like I said. And it is not dependent on abundance. Like, it is not dependent on how much you have in your account. If you are not kind, you are not kind. If you don't have it, you don't have it. The encounter with this woman actually struck me a lot. Like, because there was somebody that was struggling financially, yet she decided to be so kind. She decided to share out of the little that she had. it wasn't making much sense to me. I was like, in this economy, somebody that just finished complaining now, and then she's offering me this again. Like, this is so kind of her. And honestly, it actually made me to look back into my definition of generosity and being kind. And then I realized that this thing is all about a choice. It's not dependent on resources. It's more of a choice. It's more of you intentionally doing it, carrying it out, making it happen. So her selflessness actually struck me, and I think that is all to this generosity of a thing. Love, selflessness. You looking at yourself, yet you're looking at other people. You putting yourself in other people's shoes, and that's where empathy comes in as well, because she knows that okay, the way she's feeling, there are a lot of people that are probably feeling that way too, or probably even feeling more than she's feeling, and she felt like if she can feel it this way, then how about other people that might be going through the same thing? How can she help? How can she make them feel better? And that is all to it about generosity, being empathetic. You have to be empathetic towards others. So as you go this week, I want to encourage you to look for the small opportunities for you to be kind. Like I said, it doesn't have to be something big to connect with people. It doesn't have to be something grand. It can be as simple as the next time you are in a crowded car, or you are standing in line at the market, just take a moment to be present. Take a moment to smile at somebody. Take a moment to give compliment to somebody. Take a moment to do something so little that they might not even recognize it, but take a moment to do it. It might be when they get back home that they start thinking about it. Because this woman, after I even left her, like I had to enter another public transport, we had to depart at some point, and when I got home, I still thought about it. I was like, God, this is just so nice, and I can't just get it off my head. So at that moment, it might not mean anything to that person, but I'm very sure that if the recipient is someone that think about their day and everything, surely they will remember that little act of kindness, and it will actually teach them a lot. So all I'm saying is, as you go this week, remember to stay kind and be generous. It's a choice, like I said. Just be intentional about it. So thank you for joining me today, and do not forget to embrace the journey, no matter where the road is taking you to, because I'm also embracing the journey and I'm learning a lot, and it's so nice that I've been learning and I've been journeying with you. So until I see you next time, keep rising and keep thriving. I love you. Take care of yourself. Bye.